Well, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Glad you could join me this morning. Excuse me, I've had a little bit of technical difficulty this morning. I'm hoping that it's all solved now. We're looking at the fourth week of Advent. At church, we light a candle each week to signify the week of Advent. And then on Christmas Eve, we'll light the candles and light the Christ candle, and we'll do a candle lighting service from it. But we've lit the candle of hope, which is also considered the candle of the prophets, the light of hope from the prophets. The second one was the candle of love, which we've lit, and it's also concerned with the warmth of the stable. The third week is the candle of joy, and it's the message of joy that the angels brought to the shepherds. And then yesterday we lit the candle of peace, which is also considered the wise men's candle. And I thought we'd read that passage about the wise men again today and take a look at it. It says, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Christ was to be born. In Bethlehem in Judea, they replied, for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and make a careful search for the child. As soon as you find him, report it to me so that I may too go and worship him. After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, of incense, and of myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. We read the story of the Magi, who've also been called kings, who are also called wise men. And they've seen the star, and there's some things going on in the heavens. There's things going on through astronomy that lead them to believe that the Messiah, or the King of the Jews, the one that had been prophesied about, has been born. And so they wanted to go see him. And they go to Herod first. Herod is king. And they talk to King Herod about it. And Herod doesn't know anything about it. Gets his religious people together and said, where is he to be born? And they said, Bethlehem. And so they go and they follow the star to Bethlehem, goes over him. And the Magi, wise men, they worship him, and they bring very expensive gifts. They bring gold, incense, and myrrh. Now today I thought we'd just take a look a little bit about who were these men. And we've called them different things, and different scholars throughout the centuries have called them different things. They've been called kings. And I think the reason they've been called kings is because they brought such extravagant gifts. They brought gifts that kings would bring to another king. Gold was a favorite of all kings' gifts. Frankincense was an thing that they made an anointment in to anoint a king. Myrrh was something that was oftentimes for wealthy people anointed their bodies when they died. So they brought all three very expensive gifts. And so somebody has read that chapter and said, well, those must have been kings that came because only kings brought gifts like this. And so I don't think that's the best translation because I don't think they were kings, though I do think that maybe the guys who came did get their gifts from the king and were sent on a mission. The other term has been termed probably the most literal from the Greek is magi. And I think a lot of people have been bothered by magi because it has connotation of being a magician, sorcerer, which would be true. Where do these guys come from? Who are they? And the quick answer to that is nobody knows. Now, I make an educated guess, and this is completely a guess, but it's based on education. I think they came from Persia. I think that they were part of that same council that Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were years before. And remember that these guys started off in Babylon, but then Persia conquered them and they were serving the Persians beforehand. Daniel became head of this group that would be, I think, best described as wise men. I think that's a good thing for it because they studied a variety of disciplines. They studied history, they studied sorcery, they studied astronomy, they studied everything because the king wanted advisors who were very well informed. And so when he asked for advice, they would inform him. And so I think that that's who they were. And I think that they came from Persia, which would be modern day Iran, because that's where Daniel was. And Daniel made all these prophecies. And I think that's where they would have known about the king of the Jews. And I think Daniel wrote probably a lot more than what we just have in the book of Daniel. And I think that they had figured out, hey, the king of the Jews, the Messiah that they talk about has been born. We've seen it in the heavens. And so they go. And I have no proof of that, but just I think it's a good educated guess that might have been the group that came because I don't know how they would have known about the Jewish king, the Jewish Messiah, if it hadn't been for somebody like Daniel's writings and somebody as well thought of as Daniel as he was in Persia. Well, that'll do it for today. I also want to make an announcement today. This will be my final week of Coffee with the Pastor. A couple reasons I'm doing that. One is I started this during COVID just so a way I could stay in touch with the church members and have a touch and maybe a way where we could feel connected. And hopefully COVID doesn't shut us down again, but it's looking like maybe the shutdowns are over where we can still come to church and all. So I don't see the big a need. And then another reason why I've been thinking about and then talked to some folks about, I think it might not be a good idea when our church gets a new pastor here in the next few months for me to still be doing a program here on the website where 60 to 100 of our members are watching each day. I think it'd be good for the new guy to have a complete slate. So I've just decided I'll go ahead and end this maybe before he gets here for a few months and look forward to seeing what he wants to do. And I'm looking forward to getting a new pastor as well. He'll be my pastor. And I'm looking forward to who God's going to send us. Well, anyway, you have a blessed day, and we'll be here all this week talking about the theme of peace, and we'll look at the wise men. Tomorrow, we'll look at Herod the Great, and then we'll talk about peace on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.